Oh, you want to be admitted? Okay.
Just make sure. I think it's
Okay. All right. So you're in.
pretty sure.
Looks like Cindy got
Yeah,
in.
recording.
Okay.
Looks like
do
Cindy
we
got
have
in.
feedback?
I had muted myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, someone's joined.
Yeah. Okay.
And on Clubhouse, looked like Cindy got in successfully.
Okay.
So we're good.
Okay. All right. But it sounds like you have to shut yours because we're having feedback. It's still getting feedback on yours, and feedback is confusing for me. Very confusing. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our weekly class. Welcome, Stig. Welcome, Aviv. Welcome, Cindy on Clubhouse, and anyone else who joined subsequently. Okay, we're having a little change in order. My focus now is mainly the video. Russ in the live audience is going to be managing Clubhouse. And I want to thank Aviv for the technical support that we can now be on Teams and we can have our weekly class this way, with a visual. So to begin with, I just want to remind everybody that if you ever had any desire whatsoever to give to our class, please don't. These days, I'm not collecting money for the class. Rather, I am rather my focus is, to just give the class and to mount some organizations that are close to my heart. If anyone wants to give, first thing is the synagogue that we are broadcasting from, Congregation Am Echad in San Jose, California. Also, United Hatzalah, which is an emergency service organization in Israel, as well as, Magen David Adom, the Israeli, Red Magen David, which does the same work as the American Red Cross. Also, the American Red Cross, if you'd like. I mean, it saves lots of lives here. And also, organizations such as Kolel Chabad, which gives a lot to the needy in the land of Israel, and also to Chabad.org or Breslov.org, and to Aish.com, Aish.org, I believe, that gives a lot to helping out the educational level of the Jewish people, particularly in the area of the inner dimensions of Torah, and many other similar organizations. If none of these personally speak to you, then give to some place that speaks to you on my behalf. Okay, so we are in the middle of Avinoam Fraenkel's Kabbalah Overview. We are doing this book over here. Whoops, let me get it in focus. There we are. Shomer Emunim, the Introduction to Kabbalah by Rabbi Yosef Erges, with translation, commentary, and Kabbalah Overview by Avinoam Fraenkel. When I had emailed, I should say, Avinoam Fraenkel, we had some back and forth, and he explained to me that the Kabbalah Overview section of the book is what he considers the most important part of the book for our generation, and it is for this reason that we're focusing on this part of the book. We are on page 704. A lot of the writing here is very dense. We read a little bit and I unpack as we read. My contribution to this is the unpacking. Okay. So we were describing, the global process, what we should expect in the pre-Messianic era, and we're discussing the existence before the physical world as we know it, and Avinoam Fraenkel quotes a lot of midrashim and Talmudic sources for this, that there was existence before the world as we know it, particularly the Torah pre-existed the world by 974 generations. The idea is that the Torah was given in the 26th generation since Adam, And 26 is a special number for us because it is the numerical value of God's name, the tetragrammaton, the Yud, the Hey, and the Vav, and the Hey. So now we're still talking about this period, so we'll start on the top of page 704. This time period description from a human perspective is a preparatory period in which the environment of the universe as we humans know it, including the concept of time and all the myriad components within the universes, are being prepared and made ready for the final phase of creation, the beginning of the tikkun, meaning the cosmic repair, to commence and reconfigure everything into its desired state. So what is going on over here? Very simply, remember we spoke about the event of the shattering of the vessels in earlier classes, which the vessels of the higher worlds had shattered, and from its shards and sparks, the lower worlds were created. The problem wasn't so much that that things shattered as much as things that belonged in the upper world shattered. So it shattered. It was like throwing out the baby with the bathwater, kind of situation where too much had been shattered. I remember learning that from Rabbi Yehuda Fataya somewhere in his commentary on Eitz Chaim Bet Lechem Yehuda. So too much had shattered, and as a result, we are now elevating the sparks. You're going to ask, well, what happens to our world once all the sparks are elevated? What's left alive in our world? The answer is the problem isn't that our world doesn't have sparks that belong to it. The problem is also sparks that belong to other worlds, and that's what's confusing it. So that's confusing the situation. So Rabbi Yehuda, so continuing onward, the whole process of creation was actually the reconfiguration, reconstitution of fallen sparks and shards into worlds. In other words, is a partial tikkun. Was a tikkun, I should say, more than partial. It was actually most of the way. It was a tikkun most of the way, and then there was this little bit left for mankind to finish up. Little bit for Adam and Eve to finish up. And that's what it says at the end of the book of the end of the creation account. It says over there, what's Asher bara Elokim lasos, that God has created to do. You know, what does it mean to do? Lasso, to do, for something for man to do. You know, we've discussed this several times before. If you you want to do your child a favor, so you're going to give your child a jigsaw puzzle, right? You want to make the favor even better. You're going to put together the jigsaw puzzle for your child and then glue it together, put it on that nice oak tag, say, hey, look here, look what we have. We have a beautiful jigsaw puzzle for you. Do you think you take a look at this? Do you think your child's going to be too happy? I see the nods. Guess not. But you know, obviously you want to give the child something to do, something to assemble. So God left something for us to assemble, to finish the tikkun. And that's where the story of the Garden of Eden is, where Adam and Eve were placed in a place where they can finish the tikkun, do that last little bit, and have the joy of having completed creation, and thereby they could receive their attachment to God's light without any bread of shame, without any sense that they did not earn it, they didn't participate in it. And instead what happened was they complicated the situation. So we're left still picking up the mess they left, literally, because what happened is that even some of what was in a state of tikkun before they had done what they had done has further shattered. So we even have a bigger mess in a sense than they had. So that's So that's what he's referring to. He's telling you that the process of creation was actually the process of tikkun. It's the same thing. In other words, God did most of the tikkun, and that's how he created the universes. The pre-creation generations arose in God's thought to be created, but as highlighted in the above sources, were not actually physically created. This does not mean that they did not exist in a non-physical sense. They did, as they were products of God's thought. Their existence was sufficiently real for them to be counted as real generations. In other words, what he's telling you is that there were generations of spiritual humans that had existed, spiritual worlds that had existed. They're just not really in a what's called, they did not physically materialize. I have my thoughts about this because, as I've told you many times before, I personally believe, based on Rav Moshe Chaim Lutzato, and based on also, the Ben Ish Chai, both quoting from the Arizal, that Adam and Eve were not physical beings. They materialized with eating the fruit. In other words, their world, their Garden of Eden, was actually a spiritual world. It's just it was the most physical that existed. That was the closest to physical that existed. So it was called physical. It had counterparts in its own way of everything down here. That's why you could say God created this, created that. The 7 days were not physical days as we know it. They were spiritual days, much more dimensional. And when they ate from the fruit, the universe physicalized around them. And their bodies physicalized. They went from, as the Ben Ish Chai beautifully puts it, they went from light to skin. They went from or with an aleph to or with an ayin. Or with an aleph is light. Or with an ayin is skin. They went from light to skin, and in other words, they so. Obviously, even Adam and Eve initially were not physical, so obviously what preceded them was not physical either. I mean, it just makes sense based on that trajectory of thinking. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there were precursors, I guess. There were precursors, but my tentative understanding is that these were precursor people. They're proto people. Who says that these 974 generations were not on day number 6? We're not talking about physical time anymore.
People yet.
Yeah.
So why are they talking about generations of people?
Because they were proto people. I mean, they may. Okay, so there could be, it could be that there are two ways of possibly looking at it. And I don't know which is correct. one way of, maybe in some way both are, I don't know. One way of looking at it is that these were before the 7 days of creation. In other words, this was a trial creation, in a sense. Well, that's true. There were these proto people, and there was creation, and there was the Torah. It's not but these.
So there wouldn't be people yet. There's no creation yet. And then there's Torah, and then
preceded the creation of our universe. Not preceded. Well, that's what I meant. The preceded creation of our universe. It doesn't mean something wasn't there yet. Yes, yeah, our creation. But the 974 generations could have been. So the two ways I could possibly see it. One is that the 974 generations was either before the 7 days, before the word Bereshit, or the 974 generations may have been within it, but it just simply that 6th day included the 974 generations. So they're not talking physical time.
okay.
So, but I'm not sure which direction it is. And there might be a way to say it's actually both. I personally think that when things physicalized, so they also took on, so the past also physicalized, and that's why you have fossil remnants of proto-humans.
Okay.
As a, yeah. Okay. So anyways, continuing onward, okay. Okay. So continuing on, this does not mean that they did not exist in a non-physical sense. They did, as they were products of God's thought. This and their existence was sufficiently real for them to be created as real generations, as we just read. They were just destroyed before their completion in a physical sense, meaning that they only remained in God's thought, and the nature of their reality was not expressed to become the product of God's speech, which created the physical world. So they just were spiritual beings and never materialized. Because remember, in the story of creation, everything is God said, God said, let there be light, right, for example. So the creation is seen as as God saying. Remember, we spoke about what saying means. Saying means that that what was previously hidden is revealed. Mm-hmm. That's what saying means. In other words, what's in a person's mind you don't know until they say it. Oh. Right? Okay. So what was in God's mind it is not outside. Does not have a sense of an outside independent reality, mm-hmm, until God actually, what's it called, brings it out. So it doesn't mean God literally said in this kind of way we talk. It's it's obviously the source of our talking. It's a spiritual source of our capacity for speech, but it's not speech as we know it. The way we could relate to God's saying is that we mean by that is that God brought out what was hidden within his beingness. So to speak. So in order to create things that have a sense of independence, remember, God's oneness is the default state of reality. So to bring out anything that has a sense of independence, that is the process of creation. And even angels, they have a sense of independence. That's why they are creations, as opposed to being emanations. So these creatures, these 974 generations, were obviously in a state of emanation, not in a state of creation, because they didn't have a sense of separate identity. If you want to appreciate what it means to be an emanation, notice how your arms don't feel separate from your body. Your appendages don't feel separate from you. That's what it means to be an emanation. The entity doesn't feel separate from its divine source. A creation feels separate from its divine source. So you have so give you an example. A divine name doesn't feel separate from its divine source. An angel feels separate from its source. So let's say the Shem Havaya doesn't feel separate from God. Like it feels in relation to God, like your arms feel to your body. However, an angel already starts as spiritual as an angel might be. It already has some sense of independent being. Now, honestly, it's uncomfortable with that, and that's why it seeks to bridge the gap and tries to nullify itself within the higher light. That's its tremendous desire. We're in a state where we're most comfortable being separate. The spiritual worlds are not so comfortable being with the separation, because it's a world of real truth. But that's the difference between a creation and an emanation. So there are two kinds of realities. There's emanations and creations, and they don't confuse them. So so what he's trying to say is that they were in a state of being emanations. It is not that these worlds were destroyed because they were found wanting, and God continued creating worlds until our world, an acceptable environment, was finally established. On the contrary, these worlds were part of God's specific plan to create our physical world. The process of their building and destruction is the very process that laid down the foundations to enable our physical world to be created. So we're going to go quickly down to the footnote 255, to the bullet point there, a quote from the Leshem. The entire building of the world before the 6 days of creation of this world was when God built and destroyed worlds, is the concept of the kings of Edom, meaning the shattering of the vessel, was not in vain, God forbid. Rather, this was a preparation, a foundation of the entirety of the creation. So what Leshem is trying to tell you over here is that the event I spoke about earlier of the shattering of the vessels is the destruction of those worlds. And like I said, our world is a reconstitution of what fell. We wouldn't get something physical if those upper worlds did not shatter and come down. It's kind of like, let us say you want to put cinnamon into your recipe, right? Mm-hmm. You want to you want to put cinnamon, let's say, on your waffle. Okay, not waffle, French toast. French toast. Okay, so you want to spice your French toast with cinnamon. So are you going to take a big piece of cinnamon bark, like yay big, and put it on top of your French toast? Are you going to expect to get any anything out of that? No, you're going to grind it down so that it could be suitable to come down. Mm-hmm. So this is a kind of a grinding down of higher spiritual material in order to create lower worlds. And ultimately, you need a lower world in order to have free choice. Otherwise, there's no free choice. Up there, the truth is known. What free choice is there? You know? And if there's no free choice, there's no relationship. So, okay, the process of creation of this physical world, the process of tikkun, is the reconfiguration of all previous existence that resurrects the king of Edom who died, bringing them back to life in a newly configured way. So that's what's happening. You're now going to take all these ground ingredients and make something new out of it, a world. However, due to the tikkun being a process of total reconfiguration, they are resurrected as an integrated diversity that is entirely unrecognizable compared to their previous existence before they died. So in other words, you don't recognize them because they are now, different, integrated. Russ, do you want to do me a favor? You want to sit over here so you could keep your phone next to me and you can keep it in better control.
It's unclear that I need to control it because when Cindy wanted to talk, she had to do it on mute.
Yeah, but this way you can always move it around. You can always see if new people are coming in to admit them or whatever. You play a more active role. Okay. During the creation process, this tikkun reconfiguration was not applied at all to the fallout from the shvirat hakelim, from the shattering of the vessels. So in other words, it wasn't yet there. It only applied to those broken vessels that were relevant as a foundation to build the world, which was most of the job. So in other words, most of the reconfiguration, the reconstitution, I should say, already happened. And that was, and then the rest is going to fall on us to do. But the cosmic restoration, the tikkun of the remaining broken vessels was left for Adam to complete. As initially created as part of the tikkun process, Adam, together with the future generations of humanity, was created as an integrated being who would not experience death. He was really, even his body was soul-like, let alone his soul. He was already in that eternal state in a sense. His task was to perform the tikkun, the cosmic restoration, to reconfigure the remaining broken vessels that still existed within the world. However, with Adam's act of eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, not only did he not complete the cosmic reconstitution, the tikkun process he was tasked to do, but he caused the entirety of the creation to be regressed back to a relative state of more shattered tohu, meaning more shattered, undifferentiated light, too much exposure to light without vessels, intervening vessels, interfacing vessels, I should say, and thereby brought death to the world. So you understand what had happened? Okay, Aviv gets it.
I think so, but maybe I think
Okay, okay, you want to repeat it back?
Yes, please. Oh,
well, in your own words, what do you think happened? So we'll put. Well, why don't you put? We'll put this. We'll turn it over to you.
Okay.
Well, you're not showing anyways on your thing. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
What do you think happened?
So the shattering of the vessels eventually kind of brought on the process of death, as maybe this is maybe death more as like humans understand it, of because now that the shattering of the vessels created now a new perception of time, now that so humans can perceive a time in this new way, this new time also brought along the death. As we perceive it. So the shattering the vessels, coming down the sparks, creating the new time, which then also bringing the death.
Okay.
According to,
That's what I understood.
Okay.
also according to what you said before, the world physicalized during this.
Right. Okay, so let me just reiterate, because I see that you got pieces of it, you got shattered vessels of it.
At least something.
Yes, at least something. Each one of you can hold on to a shard and spark. Okay, all right. Okay, so in the higher worlds, in a state of the world of Atzilut, a proto state of Atzilut in a sense. Well, it depends whose view you're looking at, but okay, and let's say for simplicity's sake, we'll say the world of Atzilut. It's actually more complicated than that. There were 7 vessels, the lower 7 sfirot, from Chesed through Malchut, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, Malchut, and they were, and because they were configured on a straight line, very linear, they were not configured, side by side in 3 columns. They did not share the light with each other. They were not giving oriented. Each one wanted a light for itself. And as a result, when the light came in, it was too overwhelming, overpowering, and they shattered. And this happened stage by stage by stage. The shards and the sparks of these 7 lower sfirot became the material by which the lower worlds were created, the worlds below Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, creation, formation, and action. These 3 lower worlds were created, and also the realms of darkness, the realms of no good. They were also created from that. So the klipot, as we say, the Sitra was also created from that. So from lower sparks, it fell even lower. So what happened is that the process of creation, we're going to use our timeline, even though it was a spiritual timeline, from the 25th of Elul. No, I'm sorry. From 25th of Elul till Rosh Hashanah, God was reconstituting the fallen sparks and shards into worlds, into functioning worlds. At the end of the process, Adam and Eve were created, and they were going to take this reconstitution of these shards and sparks even further, so that the light could flow through. You understand? The light couldn't flow through so smoothly. So long as there's no tikkun, as long as no cosmic repair, the light is compromised. The vessels are compromised, I should say. The light's never compromised. The vessels are compromised, and as a result, the light cannot flow through easily. Imagine you have a faulty wiring and you're trying to receive electricity. A faulty antenna, you're trying to receive a broadcast. So you may receive bits and pieces, fits and starts, a little here, a little there, but the full reception is unclear. You understand, Russ? Okay. So now what happened is that it fell on Adam and Eve to complete the process. God took the process most of the way, and now the final peak of it was left to Adam and Eve. Wait till Shabbos before eating that fruit. Save it as your Shabbos treat. Don't try to eat before Shabbos what's not yet ripe to be eaten. This fruit will be ripe on Shabbos. This will be your Shabbos meal. In the meantime, eat from the other trees. Eat fruit from the other trees. So they, as human desires and curiosities got the better of them, and Eve did what was essentially what we call an aver l'shem shemayim, a sin for the sake of heaven. Somebody once asked for Moshe Weinberger, Rebbe, can you teach me how to do a sin for the sake of heaven? And Moshe Weinberg's response was, let's first get your mitzvahs l'shem shemayim. Let's just teach you how to do your mitzvahs for the sake of heaven. But we talk about doing your sins for the sake of and she felt, as the Lubavitcher Rebbe puts it, she felt sad for the and sorrowful for the snake and his realm, and saw that if she were to do the tikkun right now, his whole realm would be unplugged from the light, and as a result, because evil exists parasitically off of good. So you take away, but if you unplug a parasite from its source, it dies.
Right.
So she saw that it was going to wither and die instantly. She had compassion for it, as Lubavitcher ever says. It felt that you can have, and in any event, you'll have even a greater revelation of the light if you just, if it could be integrated. She, her soul saw that.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the joke of a parrot who had cantorial abilities. He was able to sing beautifully cantorial pieces. He was able to do the whole Rosh Hashanah prayer, the whole Yom Kippur prayer. And the owner of this parrot saw a wonderful opportunity. He was going to get people to bet on whether his parrot could do the whole Rosh Hashanah prayer. So they assembled in synagogue on Rosh Hashanah, hundreds of people in the crowd, and each one is, what's called betting hundreds of dollars that the parrot can't do it. Can't. What do you mean? It's just a bird. What can it do? Right. At the end of the day, what can it do? And the owner of the parrot starts coaxing the parrot. Okay, we got it. Okay, so start performing. And the parrot's quiet. Just in fact, he's worse than quiet. He just squawks like a parrot. Oy vey, this poor guy. What's going on? So Rosh Hashanah is over. He's lost a lot of money. He's really upset. He turns to his parrot. Look what you did. The parrot looked back and said, but wait, could you imagine the stakes for Yom Kippur? That's kind of what Eve was thinking. We'll incorporate the dark side into the tikkun process, into the cosmic reconstitution, reconstitute the dark side too, and imagine the stakes. Imagine how much divine light will be revealed at that point, when we have a vessel that's made not just from holiness, but from transformed impurity that now became holiness. That's the way I understand what the Lubavitcher Rebbe meant. But the point was but as a result, not at that moment at least, she lost the bet. The parrot lost So even more that was already fixed up. Some of what was already fixed up in the 7 days of creation, however you understand days, was now ruined, and fell back into a state of being shattered, and now has to be worked at again. Okay, Stig, is it clear to you?
let's just say yes for now. And then I
Okay.
can, I'll get, let me wait to get the book first.
Okay. Well, mostly explaining it outside.
Yeah.
But I will. But if you have any questions, what's called Mincha Ma'ariv, you could ask me.
Yeah. I'm just taking it all in. First time here.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, we're going to continue a little bit. Following this, the mechanisms through which the tohu is rectified by mankind is either through the performance of Torah mitzvot or through the great difficulties that people experience within this world through challenging vicissitudes of life or extreme events like the Holocaust, or through the soul's experience of death. Okay, so what he's talking about is there are different pathways for tikkun, for cosmic repair. If a soul was assigned a certain area to fix, in this world and in the spiritual worlds, and so there are basically three different pathways. One of them he didn't mention. One pathway is the pathway of Torah and mitzvot.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. I guess for someone who isn't Jewish, that would be the 7 Noahide commandments and all that's associated with them.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the other option of tshuva, a person doing tshuva, repenting for the past, making amends for the past. Then you have the third option, and that is through suffering. He's mentioning the first and the third, but tshuva is also a viable option in order to affect the cosmic repair.
Mm-hmm.
The person does tshuva, they're no longer the same person. If it was a real tshuva, consciousness has changed, and as a result, the was previously a surrounding light became their inner light, and they now have a new surrounding light. And the forces of darkness don't recognize the person anymore because they're looking for a spiritual energy signature. That's how they recognize things. They're spiritual. The person's spiritual energy signature has changed through tshuva. So that as a result, they don't. Those forces of darkness don't recognize the person anymore. How did it change? So Rabbi Nachman the Breslov explains. I've seen this in Likutei Maharan, section 1, Torah 21. That we have a surrounding light and an inner light, and as we grow, we are as our vessel expands, we're pulling in more of that surrounding light, turning it into inner light. Light, soul light that's integrated. That's the Jewish definition of spiritual growth. When we say someone's spiritually growing, what do we mean? We mean is that they downloaded more of their soul. More of their own soul is downloaded. They become a better vessel for their soul. So more of the soul is integrated into who they are. So what happens is that as you integrate more of your soul, then you have you have two levels. You have three levels actually. You have the level that's integrated, the surrounding level that's not yet integrated, but it's you might say in Yiddish it's shayach to being integrated, meaning it's on the verge of being integrated. It's potentially integratable sometimes, within a reasonable time. And then you have what's beyond, which will never be integrated in this lifetime. So
this is like tzaddikim also, they can, like we learned actually in the Baba Metzia about Rabbi Elazar,
right,
somehow because he was so righteous, even his body, when he was dead, was able to influence the city, that the life can, the like all the punishment kind of, all their sins
Right.
went away, and they actually left the life expectancy was full. Basically, they didn't shorten his life because of his merits. So somehow.
Right, but but I'm not talking directly about that kind of phenomena. That's a person did a huge tikkun when he passed away, and through his life and through his merit, but you're right in a sense. There's more light in the universe as a result. There's more light in the generation, more spiritual light in the generation. So what happens is that what happens is that when the person does tshuva, or grows either through tshuva, through Torah and mitzvot, or through suffering, as he just mentioned. So more of the surrounding light becomes inner light, and as a result of it turning into more inner integrated, like there's a new level of surrounding light now that comes down, and the forces of darkness are looking for the energy signature of the surrounding light. That's really what they're looking for, because that's what they see, and the person's changed it.
Yeah.
And so the person's the whole flow of a person's life could change as a result. So the
person affects himself, but it also affects, I guess, others around him.
Exactly. Yeah, also affects others around them. I think that's true as well. So they are also protected by that energy signature. I guess that's what you meant by the story. Okay. Okay. So anyways, we're going to conclude class right now. We're going to just keep it short. This was an experiment. First time I'm trying this class on video.
Wow.
I hope everyone enjoyed. So anyways, wish everyone a Shavua Tov Marach, a happy and joyful week.
Thank you.
Go from strength to strength. Mechayil El Chayil this week, and God willing, B'li Neder Mirtz Hashem, we will continue have the class again next week, at same time, same place, same station. Okay, bye everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I just hit leave. That's it.
Hey, press the end recording
Where
and the 3 circles, and then
end recording. Stop recording.
stop recording.
Okay.
And then you can leave.